rights that men have that women do not? Any rights that men have that women do not? No. No.
So then what laws are feminists fighting for?
Shit, that's a good one. Shit, that's a good one.
Feminists spent decades screaming, "We don't need men." And men finally listened. Now suddenly the victory feels oddly quiet, doesn't it?
I am absolutely no longer okay to stay quiet about the feminist movement that is becoming derogatory and demeaning towards men. We can stand up for our rights while still being respectful to men and understanding that they are also valid, that their emotions are also valid, that they are necessary, instead of creating this whole agenda that we're auto-independent, we don't need men. I don't like that talk. I feel like it's leaked into the dating culture as well, because now women are feeling like men are just dispensable and that we can just dispense them, that their emotions aren't valid, that they are not necessary, that we can just use them for what they can bring to the table and then discard them afterwards. Like, why do we think this is okay? Like, what if it was your brother that this was happening to? You may not have brothers, but if I found out that girls were treating my brothers like that, like, I would have a problem with it.
They fought for independence, freedom, and a world without male interference. Now that men stepped back, the complaint is that nobody is stepping forward.
Women that support like other women being as promiscuous as possible, being like baddies and being escorts, and be like, let women do what they want, let them wear what they want, let them do everything. I will only believe you if you let your man or your husband do the same thing. If you don't mind your husband subscribing to her OnlyFans, commenting, liking all that stuff, then okay, fine, you're a true girl's girl. But if you can do it, but you get mad if your husband then follows the same girls that you're always promoting, you're full of shit.
For years the message was clear: men are the problem. So men solved it the easiest way possible, by removing themselves from the equation.
Him taking on a single mother and helping raising that woman's kids aligns with her worldviews. But what he doesn't realize is that she's trying to get him to understand that it doesn't align with his own worldviews. Basically, he's a hypocrite. He sits here and he bashes women for having this promiscuous life and having multiple kids by multiple men. And then he marries a woman who has multiple kids by multiple men. He sits here and he preaches to young men that they shouldn't get with those type of women. And he got with that type of woman. That's what she's trying to get him to understand. That he's not living a life that's conducive to his own worldviews. And he is so full of himself, so emotional, so upset that he won't even listen to the reasoning. Y'all, when I tell y'all this was a 6-hour-long podcast of literally this, he had made up an idea about who he felt this woman was from the jump because she's a feminist. And he decided that he was going to dislike her and everything she had to say from the beginning to the end. And it only escalated as we got further through the podcast. We're at like the 4-hour mark, 4 hours and 20 minutes that they get to this point. 4 hours and 20 minutes where it got to the point where they're really starting to get heated. But if you pay attention throughout the entirety of the video.
Men stopped arguing, stopped chasing, stopped explaining themselves. And somehow that silence is making more noise than the old debates ever did.
If we're looking at all of the systems where women couldn't vote, women couldn't have their own credit cards, they couldn't buy certain things, they needed men, right? That's what we call systematic oppression. Have men faced that? No.
Oh, men absolutely have.
What systematic oppressions have they faced?
Ooh, I love that you, and I love the framing of system. Intrigued. Are you familiar with the selective service system?
No. Are we talking about...
Hold on. How can you have any position on like equality and feminism if you don't even know the primary way and mechanism in which men can be or are oppressed? I
drafting.
suppose.
Okay, yes, thank you. Why don't we just call it drafting, my
because
friend?
that's the formal
that's
term
not like
for
some
it.
gotcha where I'm using some like vague nebulous term to. No, it's literally the government.
So it
body.
literally took one word of her just saying it's drafting, and it was all clear to me.
Okay, and who is subject to the draft in this country?
Men.
Are women ever subject to the draft or ever have
Well,
been?
it has not occurred.
So, as it relates to the system that exists, you said men haven't been systemically oppressed in any sort of way. I would argue that forcing men who are otherwise unwilling to, that don't want to put life and limb at risk, this is absolutely oppressive. Women have not really ever faced that. However, throughout all of human history, but at least as it relates to United States law, men have been forced by the United States government, which is a system. In fact, it's the most powerful system in the entire world. So yes, absolutely, systemic oppression has been something inflicted upon men.
The revolution promised empowerment and endless options, but it didn't mention that options disappear when the other side stops playing.
I'm so sick of the man-hating feminist myth. Men are socialized to be masculine figures and to harm women. Seen as macho to be a ladies' man and to womanize. There's zero accountability for men growing up. If they harass a woman, oh, it's boys will be boys. It's not a big deal. He'll grow out of it. If they sexually assault a woman, oh, she's probably lying. Or me, when I get harassed by some teenage boys talking about my ass, oh, you're the creep because why are you wearing pants that look like that? When in reality, I didn't do shit wrong. I was literally just showing up in my business clothes. This type of thinking and excusing of men's behavior is the reason why essays happen, why grapes happen, why DV happens, because men are entitled to believe that women belong to them. So I am going to continue to make my content. No, I don't hate men. I hate the way men are socialized. And I do want a son one day so that I could raise him to not be a piece of shit because I am tired. I'm so tired.
Men didn't revolt, protest, or fight back. They simply logged out of the game entirely. And that might be the most brutal response of all.
This creator yelled at a man in a parking lot not to approach her, and thousands of men are shook.
I'm literally shaking right now because I just had a man approach me in a parking lot.
She was supposedly alone in the parking lot, putting her son in his car seat.
And he was probably 30 feet from me when he said, "Excuse me, ma'am." And I turned around and I literally yelled at him and I said, "Do not approach me."
Your first reaction may be, well, he was pretty far away. He said, "Excuse me." That seems like an extreme reaction. And that seems to be the primary response, mixed with anger and frustration with the general state of being a man these days. Did we then take a second to try and stop and understand what may have caused this reaction? How was the man acting? What kind of prior experiences has she had? What other reasons would she have for not feeling safe in a society where almost every woman has dealt with some kind of harassment or assault? Or did we jump to,
well, boys, we are in a new era now, so if you see a young lady that drops her credit card, keep the fucking thing. If you see the tire on her car is low, don't let her know. She'll figure it out on the freeway.
I just picked Jake Barr's response because this is where I first saw the video. There were many exactly like this. Videos, comments, tweets, basically saying, can't do anything nice anymore for women, so don't even try. Then, of course, it veers into an excuse to accuse them of being superficial.
However, I think there's a higher likelihood that he was just unattractive.
And yeah, a lot of men ran with that. It's bad, but the immediate issues only affect unattractive men, so who's going to care really? So there are a couple of bigger issues at play here than whether or not the original poster had an overreaction to a man approaching her and what her reasons might have been. It's this narrative being created by men online that the reason women are scared of you or aren't matching with you on Tinder or are nervous around you in parking lots, or whatever the case may be. It's not because of experiences they've had or the actions of men. It's because you're not attractive enough. It's not what's on your Tinder profile, it's that you're not good looking enough. It's not the way you approach somebody or looked at them, it's that you're not good looking enough. It's not that somebody's triggered or has had a lot of experiences so they're anxious around men in public spaces, it's that you're not good looking enough. Guys, nobody is as obsessed with your appearance as you are. I promise you. A lot of women have a really good reason to be anxious around men in public spaces. So if you're approaching them for a good reason but get a negative response, deal with it and move on. And make society safer instead of whining that they don't feel safe.
For decades, men were told they were unnecessary, replaceable, outdated. Now that they are acting exactly like that, suddenly it's a crisis.
I hate this whole toxic feminism energy, especially when girls say, I don't care if I'm alone for the rest of my life. You really don't care being alone in your 40s or 50s with just your dog and no dick? That's crazy.
Not asking you.
Are you going to cry?
Look,
strong
we're
woman.
Not asking
I thought you were a strong woman.
I hope you guys have a really good day. I'm leaving.
Hold on.
No. You're going to cry?
Hold on. We're not. Look.
I thought you were a strong woman.
Kylie, do you want to just take like 3 minutes to gather?
I'm leaving. Like, I'm driving home.
I mean, you agreed to.
I agreed to here, not stay for the entire.
Yeah, but that you can't do some technicality where, well, I showed up for 2 minutes and I'm just going to leave and get the benefits of. Look, Kylie, just take a 5-minute breather. You still there, Kylie?
The script used to be simple. Criticize men and they would try harder. But this generation read the script and decided the role wasn't worth the effort.
Every single man who is circumcised, there's like nerve endings in the foreskin that are no longer there. It makes less, conceivably, ostensibly, less pleasurable.
There's equal, you can bring up equal, medical literature on how it prevents infection. It's fine though.
So you think the pros outweigh the cons?
Yeah, hygiene is important. You don't want infections.
You realize that somebody who is uncut can observe perfect hygiene.
But they don't in reality tend to, right? Little boys.
Yeah, I don't think that's justification for mutilation.
So you would remove religious freedom because you're saying Jews can't circumcise their children.
Well, let's assume, so let's assume there was a religion. I'm not talking about Judaism, but let's say there was a religion that allowed like horrific crimes to be committed against children.
It's a false equivalency.
How is it?
I'm talking about reality. I'm talking about in the Jewish practice, they circumcise and it's fine.
Hold on, so okay, if in modern day time we view this as barbarism and we view this as a barbarian, yeah, it is. Just to be clear, it's not even a religious argument I'm making. Most circumcisions are just done in the hospital for no religious reason.
No protests, no debates, no grand speeches. Just men quietly focusing on their own lives while the argument echoes in an empty room.
Bro, GG's, y'all. The feminists have won. Men's standards are at an all-time low. If you would have asked a man a decade ago what he wants from a woman, he'd be like cooking and cleaning and sex whenever he wants. Nowadays, if you ask a man what he wants in a woman, he's just gonna tell you he wants peace. Men don't need you to cook and clean anymore. We can do that on our own. Women wanted equal rights and to work, and now they got equal rights and they're working. But the drawback is that now there's no such thing as gender roles. There's no such thing as a woman's job or a man's job. It's just work that needs to be done. So for better or worse, the feminists have won. The cat's out the bag, y'all. Men don't need women and women don't need men. But the truth is, we work better together. It's been proven time and time again. A man and a woman with the same goal and the same tenacity, they can do anything. In my opinion, the feminists had the right idea, but they didn't think enough about how the future could be. Because women got their equal rights, but men are way less likely to cater for women because of it. Because why cater for somebody who doesn't want to be catered for? It almost defeats the purpose.
The strangest part of winning is realizing nobody stayed around to watch the celebration. Because when the competition leaves the arena, victory stops feeling like victory.
Why do men have a problem with feminism and women being successful? I used to play video games with my brother when I was younger, and obviously because I was older than him, I would beat him quite often. I started to lose on purpose, or basically just hold back so he would have a better chance at beating me. I did that for 2 reasons. The first one being that if I kept winning, he wouldn't play with me anymore. And obviously that would be boring because I didn't have any friends. And the second reason being that I didn't like seeing him upset. I did that enough times to the point where he started to get better. And he started to actually beat me at video games. I was so secure in my abilities that I was okay with losing. Seeing my younger brother being happy made me happy. I didn't feel resentment because I lost. I didn't feel resentment because he was better than me. I felt proud. So when I see men online complaining about feminism and being upset because women are progressing, I just don't understand why you'd feel that way. As a secure man, seeing someone win shouldn't bother you at all. We should be proud of the work that they've put in to get what they have. So I guess my question is,
The message was go your own way long before men actually did. Now that they finally did exactly that, people are shocked it worked.
The pick-me's of the world have existed long before Pearl, and they will exist long after the Australian, brand of pick-me's that we're seeing popping up. They have a firm belief that if they push other women in front of the bus that's heading for us, then they won't get hit. They're just delaying the point at which they get hit, and they're going to be so surprised and so shocked when they get hit. So we're all going to get the same outcome. It's just that they're going to have the nasty surprise element. And as you know, I call out Aunt Lydia's and pick-me behaviour because it enables and upholds abusive structure that men benefit from. Like, the worst thing is that dangerous and different men uphold the system and the structure that abusive men provide for them because they benefit from it. Pick-me's do not benefit from it. Like, they will cultivate this following of men who hate women, but they still hate women, and you're still a woman, so you're never going to benefit from it. They are never, ever, ever going to allow you to profit from your platform or your words, or let's say you wrote a book or you started a podcast. They're not going to pay your bills because they inherently hate you and don't respect you. I am very selective about those pick-me's who I call out and who I put onto my platform, especially now that my platform is bigger than it has tripled in size since December. But when I choose not to respond to someone who everyone is tagging me in or, sending me their videos, etc., there's a reason for it, and I will qualify it this way. I have worked in mental health for 11 years. And if I even get a whiff of it being a contributing factor to somebody's demeanor, somebody's belief system, then I will stay away from it, because it could be exploitative, but it could also be a whole range of other things which actually speak to that person's vulnerabilities. And it is nuanced in that way, right? Because the reasons why women uphold these structures are very different to why men do. Men do it because they benefit from it, and women do it to protect themselves. Some of them do it to protect themselves and to exploit other women and to put them in harm's way and in danger in an intentional way, or in a really selfishly motivated way. And then there are those who are doing it because they might be deeply traumatized, by some experiences they've had with women. They might be someone who is expressing that they don't trust psychologists. So they are talking about their trauma, and they're also talking about the fact that they have not addressed it in any sort of formal treatment sense. There's a whole lot of reasons why I won't. And also because I can smell from a mile away when someone desperately would like to see their video put onto somebody's platform, which will allow more people to see them, because the attention is 50% of the intention behind making this kind of noise. And it is just noise, and it will burn itself out. It always does. Trust me. I've been an online content creator for 11 years. I have seen everybody come and go. Always look at the intention and a bit of a deeper layer as to why it might be happening. And as hard as it can be, coming from a place of compassion and empathy, because like I said, they might think that they're doing it because they're going to benefit from it, but it's probably to protect themselves in some capacity.
Turns out pushing people away for years has a predictable ending. One day they stop knocking on the door, and they don't come back. That's all for today. Please hit the like and subscribe button, and don't forget to press the notification bell so you get the latest updates from our channel.